This business is not sponsored by or affiliated with the United States Department of Veterans Affairs or your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs or any other federally chartered veterans service organization. Other organizations, including but not limited to your state's Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, a local veteran service organization, and other federally chartered veteran service organizations provide this service free of charge. You may qualify for other veterans benefit services outside the scope of what this business offers. All disability claims for increased ratings are processed by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs. This business cannot expedite the processing of your claim by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs.
Hey, good evening, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday, veterans, and thank you for spending some time with us today. Before we get started with our today's topic, sound off in the comments of, who you served, when you served, and, maybe you've got a coach already, maybe sound that off as well. If you don't, get on with those discovery calls and definitely get one of those calls booked and get that claim started. But we'll get things kicked off. And let us know where you're tuning in from, branch of years in service and all those things. And we'll check those out too in the following comments as well too. So happy to see everyone here. Happy to be here with my good friend, my sister, Coach Natalie Jones. Good to see you, Natalie.
Good morning, good afternoon. It's good to see you as well. Let's see. I don't see anything coming through. Today we're going to be talking and doing a question and answer, so it's pretty much an open forum. Again, my name's Coach Natalie. I've been here for about 4.5 years at VA Claims Insider. Started through the process as a client, and then started working here. And so I'm prior Navy, did about 4 years, and I was a communications officer.
Hey, welcome, Tony, coming in from Tampa, Florida. Started your process after 24 years out of the Air Force. Welcome. Navy veteran, 75, San Diego. Welcome. I'm not going to try to pronounce that. Lanzadreo, Facio, I believe. So welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining with us. I believe I saw Tony there too. Oh, great. You got a primary appointment on the 18th. And we'll if you've got some questions about that, we can talk about that too. Wayne, good afternoon, good evening. Alan, always good to see you. George, I just saw you last night, so thanks for coming out.
Manuel, welcome. Retired from Ohio. Welcome. We have Alan, U.S. Air Force, retired. Oh, okay. U.S. Marine Corps, George Briani, welcome. We're going to go over these for about 5 minutes, and then we'll jump into the Q&A.
Yep, I'll do my introduction here shortly. I'll let a couple of these we're going to give a few more shout outs to these veterans.
We've got Jennifer Marie Novi, Air Force, 6 years. Welcome. Catherine Wells. Oh, it's Brian Wells from Michigan. Jimmy B.
Bill Mackey, Navy. Reseller of sneakers. Welcome from Florida. Military Police, Army. Dennis Elam, Air Force. Welcome. Ray, welcome. Oh, look, it's 20 years. Natalie, 60 to 90. Congratulations.
Oh, I see that.
Robert Sims, Air Force vet. You got a CMP exam coming up. Welcome. Army, Mike, Paul, Frank. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for coming out and joining with us. Paul, Air Force, 73 to 77. A few more here, Natalie, too.
I've got Lee Dale, 86 to 90. Chris Barter, U.S. Marine Corps and Air Force Reserve. Welcome. D. Michelle, Navy, 93, 98. Hey, Bobby.
Navy deep.
Yes, Navy deep. I love that.
Kind of a widespread, but we definitely have a vast majority of Navy. But like Nellie said, we're going to get things kicked off here in about 5 minutes. But I'm Coach E. McFarland here. I've been here roughly a little over 4 years. Served in the Army as a 91 Delta. Those Army older individuals may know of that as a 52 Delta generator mechanic. But my expertise as a diesel mechanic widespread across the areas of the Ordnance Branch, from pumps to ACs, generators to even trucks. So, Order Sergeant, shop foreman, did all that stuff. Was even an acting first sergeant at one point in time as well. So I served from 97 to 98 as 11 Bravo. So I was mechanized infantry first, and then got out and then came back to 05, stayed until 2015, until I was medically retired. Deployed Iraq, Afghanistan, excuse me, variety of different duty locations, but ended up retiring at Fort Hood with 90%. We'll say I struggled with my veteran benefits for a long time, and then found one of Brian Reese's videos. Saw this very energetic, passionate individual about veteran benefits and the claims process, and got the process started as an employee first, then a client, and then got to 100% permanent total with my sister over here, with Natalie, on the same day.
Same day.
We are known as Hundo Twins across the organization, and couldn't be happier doing this class with her as well. Like I said before, that's what brought me here was Brian's videos, and couldn't be happier. This is more of a calling and a purpose versus a job. It really is. We wake up every day, probably Natalie as well. Most of us say this each and every day, that we love what we do. We love waking up and enjoying what we do, and educating veterans on their benefits and seeing where we can get them, and going down that journey, understanding that why and all those things too. Those are the big part. That's kind of your motivational factor, whether it's compensation or an educational benefit, whatever it happens to be. But about 2 more minutes, we'll give a few more shout outs here. William Maggie, thank you. Welcome here. First Air Cav. That's where I retired out of. Not your unit, but from Air Cav, from First Air Cav.
Let's see. Ronald Ward, 89 to 06. Alan Lipscomb. Welcome. Andrew J. Hood, U.S. Air Force, 93 to 13, 2013.
Nico Bell, 5 years Navy. Dare to be with you. Derek Johnson, 91 to 98. Welcome. Rosa Diaz, you're on Jorge, 67 to 69. Thanks for joining. Reddy and John, Army, 77 and 79. Thank you for coming out. And again, as always, everyone, thank you for your service to our country. We appreciate it so much. Like we said before, we'll get these things kicked off here momentarily, and we'll get to all your questions here that are going to be in here as well too. That's the whole purpose of this. We're going to have a whole batch of Q&A today. This will not be a generalized topic. This will just be a question and answer. We'll have them in there, and we'll do our best to get you an answer as best as possible. And if I don't know the answer, obviously I'll flip it over to Natalie, and she'll give her expertise or her take on it as well. So you get 2 heads are better than 1.
Absolutely. All right. And it looks like we can get started now. So first question that we've got here, Jim Bastasic.
Real quick, we need to talk about the LEAP program too, and get into that too, Natalie. So VAST's elite program, we're talking about strategy, education, medical evidence. You get that one-on-one coaching, your strategy session, the claim education, and the CMP education as well. So make sure that you get that call booked. If you're already a client here, get that strategy session booked as soon as possible. Don't wait. Okay. As soon as you get signed up, make sure you get that call booked. Claim submission education. We cannot submit the claims for you. Let me iterate that. Okay. We're not the ones that are going to submit the claim for you. We can educate you on the claims process and how that all plays out on va.gov. Early and often CMP education classes are conducted throughout the week. So we have live classes that we conduct through Teams, not through Zoom anymore, but through Teams, and up to 3 live classes. And we got Coffee with Coaches Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from I'm drawing a blank right now. 8 a.m. Central to 9 a.m. Central. Wow, I don't know why I didn't just say that. Mental health exam education Monday and Thursday. Monday at 7 p.m. Central and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central. And then medical exam education is on Monday at 12 p.m. Central and Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Get that discovery call booked. Want to learn more, schedule a discovery call and talk to one of our team members by going to vaclaimsinsider.com. Get on one of those calls with those veteran ambassadors, those wonderful individuals, and they can get this stuff started. And again, reach out to the organization, vaclaimsinsider.com. We'd love to partner up with you with your VA claim journey. All right, we're going to kick off with the first question.
Yeah, my bad. Okay, so do you need a nexus letter? This is Jim Bastasic. Do you need a nexus letter to be considered for a disease that is identified as a presumptive disease caused by Agent Orange? So a nexus letter is really a link, okay, to connect your condition, whatever that condition is, to an in-service event. All right, so in most cases when it's for a presumptive, you just need time and place and a diagnosis. Now, if you've already been denied with that information, then a nexus letter would be something that would be necessary or that we would suggest that you go for. Let's see. Next question we've got here. Lazardria. So what is the best strategy when submitting different claims that are not related to each other? Should you submit them all at the same time or do them at different time, like one a month? So you're going to want to submit your claims strategically. All right. So here at VA Claims Insider, we say that this is a marathon, not a sprint. First and foremost, medical evidence is what's going to help you win your claim. So you want to make sure that you have a diagnosis first and foremost for that condition. You also want to make sure that you're meeting what's called that Kaluza triangle. These are the 3 things that the VA is requiring in order to say yes to a claim. All right. So in-service event or aggravation, the current diagnosis, and then in most cases that nexus. Now with that nexus, like I said earlier, that could be, that is the link. Sometimes it means the requirement of a letter, and sometimes it means that it is something that has a direct linear path to that condition. So let's say that you injured yourself while you were in service, but you've kept up with your medical care completely through that process, through active duty, as well as all the way up until now. Sometimes that nexus is kind of is seen as the it's direct to service, right? So they're able to connect all of the conditions, all that part of the condition.
Debbie Ann, I'm currently receiving a combined rating of 80%. My mental illness, bipolar 2 disorder is rated at 50%. I've had a late diagnosis of ADHD, which is considered to be severe. Where to start with a claim? It's going to be depending on severity of symptoms. So if you can warrant for that 70% to that increase, or even possibly that 100%, really getting in with, if you're not already with the coach, understanding that strategy, figuring out what possible evidence you may need. You might need an independent medical opinion. You may need some of that, may need a DBQ to be able to, or disability benefits questionnaire to kind of iterate those severity of symptoms and how it's occupationally and socially impaired. If you already are a client, I can't see any of your information right now, but there are some great resources that are built into the portal that we open up and can put into the portal for our clients to be able to show those things, show the occupational and social impairment. In those classes I mentioned earlier, that mental health exam education, we iterate those things too. We talk about the social impairment, the occupational impairments, the severity of symptoms. So we're looking for things, we call this the fourth element of the VA Claims Insiders golden circle. So it's severity of symptoms. So you're looking at how bad does it feel? So, am I feeling really depressed or really anxious or whatever those for those examples. This is kind of generalized for this what I'm using. And also is there a duration, right? How long is it lasting? Is it lasting several minutes, a few seconds, or is it lasting several days or several hours? So that's another part too. And then how many times a week, month, per day does this happen too? Okay, there's the frequency. Those are the three elements they're looking for as far as the severity of symptoms. And that will basis on your occupational and social impairment, and that's how it's rated basis off of what the 38 CFR states for mental health. So kind of look at that. If you are with a coach, definitely check that out with them. There's a lot of stuff that's covered in the portal that describes severity symptoms and talks about mental health specifically in that space too, along with the classes that I mentioned earlier too.
Perfect. So Jennifer Marie Novi says, I'm assuming you do not help with filling out forms. So again, we are coaching and education organization. So we cannot fill out forms for you. We're not VSOs, claims agents, or affiliated with the VA in any way. But what we can do is we provide coaching through your claim submission if you are looking for that.
For sure. And then Wayne Kern, can I talk about SMC a bit? I know it's a complicated subject, but I'm surprised at how many vets have not even heard about it. So SMC stands for Special Monthly Compensation, is awarded to the veteran basis off a condition they may have filed for, and it may have been awarded to them basis off of certain things. So there's a variety of different SMCs that are out there. There's a resource built into VA Claims Insider that talks about SMC. The veteran, in all cases, will not file for the SMC. The VA awards it basis off of what they see, basis off of the evidence and basis off of the claims that they filed for. There's SMCs for a variety of different things. The resource is going to be the better option. And really, it's not going to be something that you're going to file for. Okay, so you're not going to hunt for it. And we don't work with specific SMC claims. They just happen basis off of certain claims that the veteran has filed for.
Beautiful. Okay, so I have, sorry, that moved. Okay, Naeem Sankofa. So you're being treated for a number of conditions that can be primary or supplemental claims. However, your VA doctors will not put the official diagnosis in writing. What can you do? All right, so I am not a doctor and I cannot give you any legal advice on this, but I've gone through something similar myself. And so sometimes it might help to find a different VA doctor. A lot of the times we have vets that may go to like urgent care and get their diagnoses that way. But we also are, if you were to sign up with us at VA Claims Insider, sometimes you are able to get some of your diagnoses through another organization that we partner with, and they're called Telemedica. And so if you have that medical evidence that shows you're being treated for a condition, but you just don't have that diagnosis, there are a number of ways to include Telemedica that can provide you with the diagnosis that you need. But sometimes it's just a matter of, as well, just finding a different doctor, one that can actually work with you and that you can have that shared affinity for.
For sure. This is kind of a question that arises whenever you're filing a claim. So can you, Teresa Fleeg asks, can you get aid in attendance if you're receiving SMC of $500, PTSD with dementia? So SMC, aid in attendance is something you can look on va.gov for. Again, we don't do anything with aid in attendance or any of the SMCs. There's a spot in the actual 526EZ, which is the claims form that you're actually, when you're filing your claims, that asks for information if you want to know information more about these additional benefits. You can also look up aid and attendance on va.gov as well, and that will give you more information. But we don't do anything with aid and attendance or SMCs or anything like that.
Okay, so John Dole, will medical evidence assist with an anxiety service connected claim, and what rating can I expect with a positive claim back from the VA? So absolutely, medical evidence is what helps win claims, especially going for mental health. Again, we're always going back to that Kaluza triangle: in-service event or aggravation, current diagnosis, and nexus, extremely important. With that in-service event, if you're going direct to service, meaning that some event happened to you while you were there and that's what's caused your anxiety, you will have to have proof of that while you were active in those service treatment medical records. But also for the in-service event, if you're already service-connected for another service-connected condition, anxiety can go secondary to that, in which case you would likely require a nexus letter or some medical documentation connecting your anxiety to another condition. The ratings that you can expect if the claim were to come back the way that you'd like goes anywhere from 0 to 100%. Most veterans on average are getting around the 70% rating, especially for those like anxiety and PTSD. But it's really just going to be based upon what symptoms you're showing at that moment and where you are in the here and now with what your experiences are.
George, great question. Does the VA ever rate mental health at 80%? So the VA currently rates underneath the 38 CFR for the rating schedule for mental health at 0, 10, 30, 50, 70, and 100%, basis off of what I currently already discussed with as far as the occupational and social impairment and how that impairs them basis off of those particular symptoms. Everything's based off of symptoms and based off the 31 mental health symptoms that we describe in a lot of our resources. So, George, I know you're a client, so give it your coach and discuss those things in more detail. Get that resource or look for those resources as far as how the VA rates specifically for mental health.
Yeah, and I will say that there's also another one that can go secondary, well, not secondary, but a second mental health option that I do believe does offer that, and that would be if you have an eating disorder.
Good point.
Let's see. Richie K, is the VA fast tracking claims lately? Is that a good thing or bad? So I wouldn't say they're fast tracking, but they are getting quicker with the decisions. Okay, so I think when I first started here, we were looking almost a year to getting a decision. They're now down to 94 days. So I know that they've put a lot of people in place that can get through these claims pretty quickly. They're doing all the things that they need to do. And so I wouldn't say it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's just a thing at the moment, and we're happy that the vets are happy that they are making the claims in a quicker fashion. If there are any mistakes, getting a gap analysis, getting that discovery call, signing up with us, we'd be able to kind of identify, hey, you've got this claim back in 12 days, it was denied. Let's figure out what's going on here, what the VA may be looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't seen a sub 100 since I've been here 4 years. So this is good news for a lot of good reasons. Like Natalie mentioned before, it used to take years for claims to come back. So this is definitely good news. Let's see here. George, do you folks believe I was right to put 30 claims all at once? Thank you. I'm at the end of the evidence gathering. Should be going to rating in a couple of weeks. Wow. 30 claims is a lot. You probably had worked with another agency and worked on that process in that way. It just depends on evidence, right? Do you meet the Kaluza triangle for the evidence for the claims? And yes, it's definitely going to take some time for those to come back. Depending when you started to where you are now, is we're going to kind of bait on where that's going to be. But best of luck, George. If you're not already a client, if there's something else that you feel you deserve, get on with the calls, get booked with one of us if you like, and definitely get that call going so you can get what you deserve.
Yeah, and then
Great question.
Yeah, very good question. To add to that, so typically for each condition that you put into a claim, the VA has to do their due diligence to, learn more about you. Where are you with each of those conditions? That severity, frequency, and duration. And so you may likely have a C&P scheduled for many of those. Some may be lumped together, like musculoskeletal might be lumped together, gastrointestinal might be lumped together, but you're going to have a C&P for pretty much everything so that they can do the proper evaluation. And so it can definitely extend the timeline for, how long it can take for you to receive the decision. Let's see. So Jennifer Marie, you were told by the VA that almost all new claims require a C&P mainly. So again, they do have to gather evidence. There's also some things called an ACE exam, acceptable clinical evidence, meaning that all of everything that you've gone through with your medical doctors and the notes is enough for them to make a decision based off of that. But in most cases, they want to get the here and now. Where are you today? So they can give you the right rating if that is what's going to happen, right? If they're going to rate you as opposed to deny you, they want to make sure that they are giving an accurate rating. And so that's why a C&P is typically required.
Okay, my brother is Felix J. Garcia. My brother's filing a claim for AFib because he said he saw a short video of yours that said arrhythmia or AFib is a presumptive for the PACT Act. So the PACT Act was inducted in 2022. There are some conditions, some heart conditions that could be associated to certain areas, such as exposure to Agent Orange or exposure to burn pits. Most of these things that you're talking about are probably more associated to Agent Orange, if that's the case. Anything to add, Natalie?
No.
Okay.
Can I increase my hearing loss? So, John Viech, can you increase your hearing loss for 40%? I don't know if you're already at 40% or if you're asking if you can get to 40%. The highest I've seen folks with hearing loss here is a 40%. I know that it can go up to 100, but that is total deafness. If anything, there may be some other conditions that you may want to address with possibly a coach, just to see if there's some other conditions that may be able to go secondary to that, if it's causing like issues like vertigo, depending on that severity of your hearing loss. But if you're already at that 40%, I would say that's on the high end.
Yeah, I would agree for sure. Charlotte Harrison has a question about, is it normal to receive a decision letter where one claim was denied and the other claim was deferred, but the letter includes the entitled amount? Yeah, absolutely. That can happen a lot. They can entitle you and give you a rating basis off what they have from that decision and can rate you based off that decision and then defer the other claim for a variety of different reasons, for a medical opinion, for development of the claim. There could be a variety of different reasons why that claim was deferred. Maybe you filed the claim after the other claim and that one had to be deferred for the medical opinion because it hadn't happened yet. Or like I said before, they could do it for development just to develop that further so that they have the right rating decision for that particular claim.
Yep. Or they could just be sending it back to gather more evidence.
Yeah, that could flip-flop. That's a good point, Natalie. That could flip-flop back and forth between stage 5 and stage 3 a lot of times, because sometimes the C&P examiner may not have enough evidence, or the VA may kick it back for quality for them to be able to review it again to make sure there was a signature that was in there, or that the DBQ was correctly filled out correctly. So there's a lot of different reasons why they can flip-flop. Try not to focus too much on some of that internal stuff, those notes and stuff like that. That pertains more of what the VA is doing internally. So just keep those things in mind.
So Jerry Sullivan, if you're receiving a percentage of 90% for different claims, can the VA reduce your percentage at any time? And is there a time period when you will always keep what you have? How does that work? My suggestion, this is a silliness coming out, is to get you to 100% permanent and total. So to truly answer your question, it's not typically at any time. It's very rare. Like I said, we've been here for about 4.5, almost 5 years. It's very rare that I see folks getting the reduction of their percentages. But the VA can choose to just do a review of your conditions if you're not at permanent and total. There's one thing that you can do, and you can request your C file to see if any of your conditions are considered static, which means that even though you may not be overall permanent and total, some of your conditions may be expected to never get better. And so they're going to sit in that permanent and total status, even though your whole percentage is not of that full 90%. And so what I always suggest to my veterans, if you're not at 100% permanent and total, continue to go to your doctors. Continue to let them know the severity of your symptoms. And this way, if you ever do get that proposal for reduction, you have all of that evidence there to fight that if that does happen.
Absolutely. Jim Flores, artillery 65 to 67 in 2012. You got a 10% for tinnitus, currently at 40%, 10% for tinnitus, and 30% for hearing loss. You file for depression and has psychological video call on the 26th of September, treated for clinical depression in 81, been on meds since 91, and had therapy from five therapists in the recovery, drugs and alcohol for 31 years. What can you expect from the interview? Expect what you would normally do on any other CMP exam. Your best bet on any exam is going to be, talk about your worst days, speak to your symptoms, the diagnosis, all the things that we talk about. And if you're not already a client, these are the things that we talk about in that exam education class. Any kind of exam education that I do with my veterans for their preemptively before they go to that exam. I want to make sure that you have the right tools, that you have the right stuff, that you know what to expect. Is it in person or is it virtual? There's a lot of different criteria there too. There's a lot of reasons why people prefer the virtual over the in-person. It might be because you don't like traveling, or you don't like driving down the road where you're going to have road rage and all these other things too that can happen. So what to expect in an interview is it's going to be depending on the severity of symptoms, depending on what your current conditions are and how they're going to be rated, but they're really rating you off that severity of symptoms, that occupational and social impairment. So for the interview, the best thing, if you're not already a client, like I said before, get on a call with a coach, or get on the call with one of the veteran ambassadors, and really get things started. Without seeing any of your records, it's hard to tell what to expect. If I could say for my example, it was a conversation between me and another individual talking about my worst days. Okay, giving him, painting the picture, telling him my story. And that's really what you're doing in that exam, is you're telling your story. You're laying everything on the table. You leave something unturned, or if you forget something about it or don't want to talk about certain things, those are the things that get us underrated. And you won't get that increase. You won't get those better evaluations from the results. So what I can really say is you're telling your story. You're telling them your story. You're talking about the things that you may not have talked about for 31 years. You're talking about things that need to come out. That's the whole point of that whole exam, is really explaining how does it affect my social life? How does it affect my time with my kids, or time with my spouse, or time with my friends when I'm out and about in public? How does it affect my work? Am I yelling at my employees? Am I yelling at my superiors? Have I gotten fired? Did I get let go? Did I quit because I couldn't handle it? All those things are to come up. Those are the things you can probably expect. But I'm not your coach, so definitely, if you're not already a client, get on with those calls, get signed up. If you're ready to go, you think you can probably get this stuff tackled, get signed up with one of us.
Yep.
Great question.
And I'd say the easiest way to really paint that picture is, again, to speak in those terms of that severity, frequency, and duration of those symptoms. All of those things that Ian just said, how often are you having those outbursts or things like that? Or, feeling like you have a loss of interest in things you used to enjoy. Well, how often is that happening? How bad is it for you? Did you used to go out to the store and run your errands, and now you're to a place where you barely leave the house, you're afraid to leave the house, and you have to order everything in? Right? How long is that lasting for? Is this gone on for a year? Is it going on for years in general? Or is it just like something that's happening within this last year, like the last 6 months, right? So you want to just try and be as descriptive as possible. And that's one thing I can say. It may not be something you can expect from the evaluator, but it should be something you may want to expect from yourself as far as how much information can I share with them. Let's see. So we have, make sure I'm looking here. Okay. Dennis Elam, I am currently receiving 70% for PTSD and prostate cancer. I have been diagnosed with sleep apnea requiring a CPAP. What's the procedure? And can I add this to my current claim? So I'll just kind of give general terms here. So sleep apnea is one of the most difficult claims to get service connected. Most cases, the VA wants to see that it's direct to service. If you are trying to do that, you've got to have it while you're in your service treatment records for sleep apnea. Otherwise, it's going to have to go as a secondary. It can absolutely go secondary to mental health. However, it's through a way of significant weight gain. So it's like through a tertiary. So your mental health has caused that significant weight gain, which is causing that sleep apnea. It could also go secondary to upper respiratory conditions really well as well. So what I would suggest here is that you may want to, again, sign up, see if you can, get a good strategy going with a coach, do that discovery call, see if this is something that works for you, is right for you. But you are absolutely going to need a nexus to make that connection from that sleep apnea to another service-connected condition, again, if you were not diagnosed while you were active duty.
And then Teresa Johnson, is best to file separate claims, as I was told. It could be. Okay, we talk about strategic claims. There's always a method to our madness, as I always tell my veterans. There's a way to file a certain claim. There may be this claim has to get filed first because it's going to be that strong primary to that next secondary. So there's always a reason why you file claims in a certain fashion, a certain way, and not with a spray and pray fashion either. So you don't want to fire a bunch out and not having a fully developed claim. Big process of what Natalie mentioned earlier is you need to complete that closer triangle. You need to have all three elements of the closer triangle in order to submit a fully developed claim. Without one of those elements, the VA is probably going to deny you for the claim. It's almost 99% time that they're going to. So the best thing is to file the claims in the fashion that you feel, or that the coach feels that is going to be the best route. Now, if you don't have a coach, it's up to you if you want to get signed up, but it can be in the best interest to get signed up with a coach and get your journey started.
Perfect. Okay, Richie K. I think this one's a good one. Can you hear me? Okay. So you turned in a supplemental claim on 8/11, got denied 15 days later. It doesn't look like they looked into it thoroughly, but they also sent you a letter 2 days after filing stating they wanted you to submit it on the proper form. Okay, so I have seen this. I've seen this quite a few times. And so a lot of the times you put in a supplemental, you may have needed to put it in as a new claim or an increased claim on a 526 EZ. Or if you're using the paper form of the supplemental, sometimes they update those papers, that form, and they want you to put it on the newer one. But if they sent you that letter, they should have put something in there on the correct form that they wanted you to fill out. So yes, I would suggest that you resubmit that on the form that the VA is requiring you to. So of course they didn't look into the claim because it wasn't on the right form. So that's why it was closed out so quickly. So the process really hadn't even gotten started yet. So once you give them exactly what they're looking for as far as the correct documentation, then that process will take a bit longer. You'll likely get that compensation and pension exam, and then you'll be waiting for the decision.
For sure. Teresa got a second question. If you had 70% and was recently diagnosed with cancer and been given a temporary 100%, if they review and decide to take the 100%, will it go back to the 70%? Well, it could. What typically happens with cancers is they will rate you based off any kind of residuals that could become that from that cancer too. So there could be a variety of different things that could be in that rating schedule. It's all going to depend on that final decision after the cancer is put into remission. But that temporary 100% will go away if you do go into remission. All right. And then Eugene says, how do I get help with you guys? It's the same question that's brought up a lot. It's just a matter of getting on a discovery call. If you believe that you're ready, Eugene, you're ready to get started, go ahead and get a scheduled call for either with one of the coaches or get a scheduled call with that veteran ambassador, like I mentioned before. All right, continuing on, Jennifer Marine Navy. Can you tell if I can make my notes to the CMP and often get anxious, forget to tell them important things, remember after I leave my appointment? This does happen often. Sometimes, you get anxious, you don't remember all the stuff that you're supposed to remember for that call. So just keep those things in mind, that you're give your best foot forward is basically what I'm saying. If you forget things, there's always options in case you're underrated. You always can go after that supplemental claim or that higher level review, but review that with your coach. If you're not already signed up with a coach, you'll be an opportunity to review that with your coach and be able to go over those notes, go over them together, and really figure out what's missing there too. Okay, maybe you need that new and relevant evidence to build support that next claim, and maybe that's something that you would have to go forward with. But if you forget something, it can happen. Okay, we're not all perfect here. We're human, so just keep those things in mind too. There's always an avenue of approach that could work for the next claim. All right, Charles Ben, I have put in claims and wasn't able to follow through, so I was denied some of those claims. Should I start over at the beginning or try to appeal the claims that were denied? Well, it's all going to depend on a lot of different factors. So say, for example, there was a matter in fact in law that was incorrect from one of the claims that you had filed before, and then that would be an option for you to file the appeal for the higher level review. Whereas if you needed new and relevant evidence, you would file the supplemental claim. So it all depends on the style of claim and what you're filing for and what's the meaning for it too. Or does it just need an increase? Okay, there's other claims that could be, service connected. You may just need to file an increase. So there's a lot of different variables in that question that could be a possibility. And I hope that answers your question, Charles. And again, as always, everyone, if you're not already signed up, you're not already signed to a coach, please get onto that call with that veteran ambassador, or if you're ready to go and you just want to get things started, get on with a coach. Start your journey. Okay. Tracy, that's another great question too. How do you claim rhinitis when they continue to say it's seasonal allergies, which you never had? If it's a presumptive condition and you are in a presumptive area, and you could prove all the pieces to that puzzle, but you may need a nexus still. Okay, that's a possibility. We've seen presumptives we mentioned earlier about an Agent Orange condition, right? Some of those presumptives may need a nexus still. If it's being denied over and over, it's a very good possibility it's still going to need that nexus to be able to prove that the condition happened. There's a lot of different variables in there too. As long as you're in that presumptive area, that supplemental claim could be the reason. But again, like I said before, you may need a nexus still because of that, those denials stating that it's considered as seasonal allergies. Okay, let's see if I missed any. Apologize if I butcher this again. Lesandria Facio, if I have hearing loss, medical record by the VA hearing exam appointment, do I still need to submit nexus letter, or the VA medical record is good enough? So the medical record for the VA is not your proven of nexus or showing the service connection. So your nexus may be needed for that in the case of the hearing loss. But it all depends too. A lot of different things too. You could have a service treatment record that the VA already has. A lot of the records that we don't submit, the VA has access to. They have access to your C file in pertaining to what's in the claim. Okay, so whatever's pertaining within the hearing loss realm, they're going to be looking at those things within that claim too. So keep that in mind as well. If you don't have copies of those things, that's also fine as well. So it will all depend, but you may need a nexus letter to be able to support that too. It's just going to depend. And the level of the hearing loss too. So you got to kind of have to warrant that as well. Most hearing loss is rated at 0%. So you have to warrant for that too. Okay, Nico Bell, I'm currently at 60%. I was recently diagnosed with anxiety at the VA hospital in Conroe. I'm currently on medication. Would you recommend to be my next step to increase my rating? So it's going to depend on a lot of different variables. Again, for the severity of symptoms, your occupational and social impairment, talking about that frequency, that duration, and that severity. How bad does it feel? How long does it last? And how many times does it happen per week, per month, per day? Okay. Gave me those really good examples, like I mentioned earlier too, where you're having a really bad day. You paint the picture. I'm going to the grocery store. This stuff's going on. I'm having a little bit of road rage. This is stuff that's going on. Someone's cut me off. Now you're amping up that severity, right? Then you're talking about how long is that feeling, that overall feeling of the anxiety lasting? Is it lasting for a few minutes, a few hours, or is it lasting into the next day? So all those variables are very important. And again, if you're not already a client, definitely get signed up with us with that free discovery call, and or get signed up with one of the coaches. But that's kind of a generalized question for that specific reasoning. I'm not per se your coach. If you already have a coach, then I would definitely bring that up with them, because it's going to depend on, okay, is the increase going to warrant, and how long was it the last time that you've been seeing? If you're consistently seeing, you could show the continuity of care and show that increase, but you may still need a medical opinion to be able to prove that increase too. Okay. So Jonathan Perez, I have a connected disability for PTSD and reactive airway disease, 70-60 rated. If I file for fatigue, does that fall under one of those, or is it its own disability? So chronic fatigue can be its own disability. Some restrictive things, I'm not a doctor, so I'm just kind of saying things in generalizations. So we're not physicians, we're just kind of using our own resources for this purpose too. So chronic fatigue is generally rated on its own scale, whereas if you're talking about sleep apnea or something like that, it could be rated a little bit. It's rated differently as it's being an obstructive disease. But everything's rated on its own scale per the 38 CFR. So just remember those things too. Things can be combined, but that one is rated on its own scale. Good questions, guys. Keep them coming.
Okay, I am back. I'm sorry about that. Weird technical difficulties. So I've got one from Tony. Do I talk about the disability claims process at my first VA primary care appointment? This is actually my most favorite question because I say absolutely yes. I personally took these as going to a VA CNP, right? I want to go in there and I'm having that first appointment with my primary care provider. I want to talk about all of the things that are bothering me, get it all out on the table for them so that they can start doing the workups. And the first primary care appointment is always my favorite every time that I've moved, because now I have a fresh pair of eyes, someone that's willing and interested in listening because they want to and they have to get to know everything about me so that they can do the very best at their job. So I think this is prime time for you to go in there and just talk about all of the conditions that you feel like you're experiencing and the symptoms and get those diagnoses. All right, Bill Mackey, how much weight does a letter from a spouse hold if you have terrible headaches since getting out? You went to the doctors in the early 90s, had CAT scans, MRIs, but hospitals and records are gone. So buddy letters can be extremely helpful in kind of delineating like observation, right? So when you have someone that's willing to write a buddy letter, you don't want them to write it in terms of like them being like a doctor or a professional, but just what they've seen and witnessed you go through over the years or over a time period. It does not hold as much weight as it would coming from a doctor, but that's perfectly fine. You still have time to just go to a doctor now, get that diagnosis, tell them, that your experience is, have them put, new things in your notes. Of course, it doesn't show that continuity over time, but you absolutely can get them to show like the severity of where it is now. So absolutely, if that's going to show like, since the 90s up until now, like what the experience has been, again, just in the observation format, this is what I've seen my husband and my spouse go through. That would be great.
Absolutely. And then when I'm seeing a psychiatrist through the VA, but it is community-based, when I submit for PTSD claim, will they be able to see the diagnosis anywhere, or should I obtain the document from the psychiatrist? This is a contexted question that's been brought up a lot too. Some notes from community care has come across to the Blue Button report, then some don't. So it's all going to be depending on that community care provider and whether or not they submit it to the VA. That's the biggest part. You're more than welcome to grab those records. They're your records. You can request them and then submit it with your claim. That way you know for sure that those notes that you need for that claim, if you've got all the elements for the closed triangle like we mentioned before, that are all completed and you have this continuity of care. This is what's going to show chronicity. This is what's going to show that continuity of care, that this condition exists and it's something that's currently right now. And don't focus on just, now, if you're diagnosed with PTSD, then that's PTSD. But I always tell my veterans, don't focus on the diagnosis, focus on the symptoms. Focus on what you're going through. Okay, so we have 31 mental health symptoms that are on there, that are on our resources, that are part of that whole process. I always tell my veterans, speak to the symptoms, not the diagnosis. Don't worry about the diagnosis. We're not doctors. Okay, so don't self-diagnose yourself and saying it's PTSD or it's anxiety or generalized anxiety disorder or depression. Okay, let them diagnose you and then kind of go from there. A blanketed claim always gets brought up and says it's PTSD. Okay, that happens a lot, but definitely speak to the symptoms, not the diagnosis. And that's going to be for your C&P exam too. When you go through that process too, you're always going to speak to the symptoms, always talk about the occupational and social impairment, really painting the picture, giving them good examples, because those examples are really going to exemplify and show all those things you go through in an everyday. You could show 5 or 6 different symptoms within one span of, an hour period that you went to the store with. So just kind of think of those things too. Don't just focus on the symptoms. Think about things in everyday examples, work, family, out and about in public, whatever it is, everyday examples, so that it seems more natural for you when you're talking about it.
Mm-hmm. And I say best practice for community-based versus the VA medical records, always just pull them and have them and submit them to your claim.
I think we grab one more question and we're going to be done for the day. And we'll get to the other questions will be answered too, so don't worry about that part. This is brought up a lot, and I'm gonna keep it general as possible. Glenda Miller asks, can you provide any updates on the current sleep apnea policy? My best answer to this is, once we know, you'll know. That's what we tell our veterans too, because it is a propose. Okay, they're all proposals. This currently right now with this one, tinnitus and mental health, is all still in proposal stage. We do not have a date. We do not have a current date of anything that's going to change. And once we do, we will post it. We'll do a blog on it. Brian or Terrell will do a video on it too and talk about it. So we're very explicit when we come to updating you guys as soon as possible, as soon as we get the latest and greatest.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So recapping the topic, we did a Q&A and some great questions, some great material to bring out to you guys. So I'm glad that happened. Again, if we didn't get to all your questions, they will get answered on the back end. So again, talk about strategy, education, medical evidence. Some call that the SEM method or SEM method. But those are the things we're looking for. That strategy session, getting it booked. You get that one-on-one coaching. Okay. Claim submission education and C&P exam education. Those are all important pieces of this whole process. We can't submit the claim for you. Okay. But we can educate you on the process and how it works on va.gov. Live classes via Zoom, via Teams. Up to 3 classes per day or per week. Coffee with the coaches, mental health exam education, and medical exam education. If you're tuning in late, Coffee with the Coaches is conducted every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7 p.m. Central to 8 p.m. Central. And we've got mental health exam education conducted every Monday and Thursday, Monday at 7 p.m. Central and Thursday at 12 p.m. Central. And then medical exam education every Monday at 12 p.m. Central and Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central. Check out Brian's new book, VA Claims Secrets, is now available, and order yours on Amazon today. Discovery call, what to learn to get that scheduled discovery call. Talk to one of our team members by going to vaclaimsinsider.com. Reach out to the organization. We'd love to partner with you on your VA claim journey. Natalie, it's always a pleasure to do a class with you. Thanks for everyone to coming out and sharing some time with us, and we'll see you next time.